No.
Let's all sit down. This is the problem when you give information too soon. Everybody gets all worked up about it. Anyway, so we have, what, a half hour left?
We have in half an hour left,
So-
and we have to do evals, so.
Which is fine.
Okay.
So we covered a lot.
Yes.
I did a kind of a, I hit on a number of things that normally, I would spend way more time, more experience. I love doing experiential things because it's not so much how to do it, as you get a feel for just even knowing what that means. I'm in thought, they're in thought, just getting a feel for it. So that's why I like doing a lot of experiential stuff. That's how I learn the most. Kind of seeing it. So how are we doing so far with what's been said? Any comments, questions?
Lifesaver.
Lifesaver, same for me, it was a lifesaver for me.
I feel
Yes.
supercharged
Right.
right now. I don't know why, but I haven't felt like this in
Oh.
weeks now. And it was just getting worse and worse and worse. I'm like, I felt like I was drowning in it. And
See, when you go down again, now you know what's going on.
right.
Mm.
That feels
Because you
good.
are gonna go down again. It's inevitable.
No.
It happens.
And one more media.
It definitely will happen.
I mean, just to tell you a quick story, when we did a year-long program with Roger Mills, and so we would all meet up at the school up in Alameda. And nice, and nobody was there, we were there on the weekend. So we'd come in Friday night, we'd stay at a hotel and spend all day Saturday and half day Sunday. Anyway, so he would do the big check-in every time we'd come, every 2 months. Each person would say how they were doing, and it was my turn. And this was, I think, the second session. And I said, I'm not doing well at all. I was just, and I'm hearing everybody's having insights, and I'm like, oh, Roger, I'm sort of getting worse. And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, Roger, I've just been tired, and I've been kind of depressed, and this isn't good because, I'm teaching, and I'm just in a low mood, and he said, and so you're in a low mood. Well, what do you mean so? That's not good. He said, so you're not human? And I said, no. And he said, well, excuse me, are you the only non-human in the world? Is that what you're saying? And I'm like, I said, and he said, well, Cathy, we're all go up and down. And you know what? I said, you mean, Roger, it's okay if I have a low mood, and it's okay that happens? He said, well, welcome to the human race. Welcome to the club. That was such a relief for me. I didn't know it was an option. I thought, especially to be, not even be doing principles, when I was a counselor and a therapist, I thought, well, I need to kind of ride over the whole thing, push through, whatever you want to call that, to keep from feeling that. And there was nothing I could do. It just came through. I couldn't do anything to defend against it, to ignore it. And he said, guess what? The good news is you can't do that anymore. And you just got to let it be, just let it be. And I'm like, wow, that was such a relief. So I was like, whoa, this whole thing. Well, of course, a month later, I woke up and I was in a really low mood again. I'm like, oh, I don't want to go anywhere. And then I remembered what he said. Well, I'm just going to be into my low mood. I decided I'm just going to be totally cool with it. So I canceled everything. Called up, canceled all, whatever I was doing. And then I had candy in the house. There was a reason for that. And I put the TV on, and I got my big comforter, and I had my M&Ms and my Reese's cups. And I thought, well, if I'm going to be depressed, I'm going to at least get into it. Well, within an hour, I'm laughing. Oh, well, this is fun. Because I got it. See, because I didn't care like I did before, I realized that it wasn't the low state that was the problem. It was all the meaning I had about the fact that I was in the low state. That's the piece that kills us.
Right.
It's the trying or the thinking.
It's making meaning about your experience. So whatever your experience is, the more we make meaning about it's good, bad, I should move on, I shouldn't, I should, take your pick. That's what holds it all into place. So if you're trying not to use, I hear this from guys all the time. I'm trying, and Cathy, and one day I just can't do it anymore, and then I just go use it. I said, do you see what the problem is? Well, Cathy, there's just something wrong with me. And I said, no, you have so much on that you shouldn't use. Do you realize that's the problem? And they looked at me like, you're kidding me. I said, no, you have all this stuff in your head about how you shouldn't. Well, do you know how much thought that takes? Think of the tallest building in the entire world. That's how much thought you have trying not to use. So of course you're gonna use, because who can take that pressure? So that's your way of dealing with it. See, this is for everybody. You know, somebody who's trying, like I had to weigh in at Kaiser, and I'm a few pounds more than I expected. I'm like, oh man, really? And then I tested my own scale. Oh, that scale was wrong. And I went home and I'm like, oh, it was right. And so I felt myself, okay, I've got to do this. I better start doing that. I saw it. Well, Cathy, you start doing that, you know where that's going to go. And then I realized, no, you know what the deal is. Don't put meaning on it. Doesn't mean anything. And don't watch TV, because they have all this, too much information about everything that can go wrong with us. This is the other problem. So I know, okay, I have the information, and I'm going to let my wisdom help me with that, but I'm not going to go on a mission. Do you see how we do that to ourselves? We innocently gear up about how we're doing. And that's the problem. We could just let it be okay, we're doing well, we're not doing well, and just be totally, okay, I'm not doing well, oh well, as opposed to, I'm not doing well, oh, I better do something, or this is not good, or there's something wrong, you know, on and on and on. So, and you know what the guys call it in jail? We're tripping that we're tripping. Right. And then one guy goes, actually it gets better than that, Cathy. It's we're tripping that we're tripping that we're tripping. I said, that's when we're really in bad shape. Guy goes, oh, you mean you're tripping that you're tripping? I go, that's exactly what I mean. So how about if you let it be okay, you're just tripping? And they're all like, yeah, man, that's really cool. You mean, I'm just going to let be a trip and being okay. I'm like, yeah, that, you know. But see, it's not what you're doing, it's your understanding. They got it. They got it. I'm telling you, there are times they teach it back to me. I'm like, man, you said it so much better. But they get what I'm saying. And they say it in their own words, but they get what I'm talking about. But yeah, how much pressure do we put on ourselves about how we should be? And then when we fall short of it, then we you know, go into this whole evaluation thing about ourselves. And then you're off to the races. And we wonder why we're so miserable at times. Yes?
It's not only that I put the pressure on myself how I have to be. I put the pressure on other person who made me feel this way.
Oh, of course. And now you're in a crazy relationship.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been there.
And I'm very angry at the person who made me feel this way.
Yes.
So, and of course, sooner or later, I will let them know about my feeling and who is responsible for that. And so I will just extend the period of misery, which would be so much shorter, if I would accept that, well, I am in a terrible mood right now, but it is not forever. But because when I am in a really bad mood because something goes on with my loved ones, it seems like it will be forever, and that thought is very depressing.
And then it goes into a,
yeah. And
now we're in
it's
a tailspin.
Yeah.
See, when life doesn't look good to me, a person, a situation, that's the indicator that I'm in a low state. That's all I need to know. When things look overwhelming, when things don't look hopeful, when things become annoying, take your pick. That's an indicator. You're just flooded in thought. That's all it is. So I know that so much in my bones that it doesn't take long for me. I'll be in it, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, okay, I know what's up. I'm just in it. That helps me not engage in it more. It keeps me from adding the extra. You know, I may start doing it, but then I'm like, wait a minute, I know what's up. This is just going on too much. And just me knowing that. And I went through a year where I was in it, a solid year, where an outside thing happened, and I took it to heart so much. And I knew at some point I would come out of it, but I had no say as to when. And it's interesting because the only time I got relief is when I'd have to leave town to teach somewhere else. And it was almost interesting, as the plane took off, it was almost like my mind cleared up and what the issue was gone. And then when I'm coming home and I was starting to land into San Jose, I'm like, it's back again. Now I knew it wasn't the place, but I was amazed. I'm like, even knowing what I know now, I'm still going back into it when I come home. See, that's when I really realized, wow, talk about a blind spot. And but the deeper part of me knew that because there's well-being and because I knew what I knew, whatever I knew, that one day I would be free from it. And I remember it was a year. It was a year, and I woke up one morning. It was gone, and I went, "Oh, it's gone." It was like this heaviness just left. And poor Linda, she got a break after that. Every now and then she'd get the calls, I can't believe this happened to me, you've got to hear this. And she's like, oh, because she appreciated how screwed up it was. But after it finally, it just left me. And that's when I said, thank goodness for well-being and health, or whatever you want, thank goodness. And I knew it was there, but I knew I had no say over when it was going to show up. So I just hung in there with myself, tortured my friends, as I went through it. And I called it my martini year. I don't drink, but I think I had a few more martinis that year than one normally would. But see, that's what we mean about, this is not about being perfect, but really understanding what's going on, and that's what saves me, even when I'm not doing well. It keeps me okay, one foot in front of the other kind of thing. And like I said, you think you're done with the biggies, and guess what? There's one always waiting to show up. What did they say? Life is a contact sport. And we get more humility, like with what happened to you. It keeps you, more humble about, you think you've got the corner on something, and you don't. So I'm just grateful now for whatever I have, and when I'm not doing well, I try to be graceful. Yeah, Linda.
Yesterday it was really so funny, just something I really cared about, they were just totally screwing up.
Yeah.
And I was just so much thinking about it, what's gonna happen to them, and just really, and then so that was like Thursday. And then Friday, again, I just saw, it's like, this is who we are, and this is what we do, and it's as simple as that. But what amazed me was my recovery time. It's like I was expecting to be in this really heavy thinking, this really just, oh man, kind of thinking for a while. I mean, yeah, I knew it was going to lift, but it's like, damn, that was, I'm pretty good, man. It just popped out. I just popped out. And I know that too. I know that too. I know I had that insight, and I'm fine, but I can slide back in and out of it. But it was like, we say this all the time. It's the recovery time that this does for us.
The year was a long.
I totally expected, even knowing, I know it's my thinking, right? That's what I told myself. I'm just going to be in it for a while, and it wasn't even for a while. And it could be at another point, but this, not even working on it, not even trying, all of a sudden it just occurred to me, oh, well, that's just what we do.
Well, it's called, I used to live in being, in it. I used to live in it and visit the well-being. Now I tend to live in the well-being and I visit.
Yes, that's the difference.
See, it just over time,
That's
it
a
shifted.
great one.
Yes.
Yeah, it shifted over time, and so I do visit, believe me, I do visit, but it's not as all encompassing.
And those blind spots seem to be
Yeah, they
they shrink a little bit.
But they still show it, yes.
I remember early on when Roger Mills was first time, one of the things he said is just, when you're in that low mood, just do no harm.
Yeah,
Do no
that's
harm,
it,
and then
that's
it'll
it.
pass.
Yeah.
Pop
Do no
out.
harm, ignore, when I'm in a low state of mind, that's when you start evaluating your life.
You gotta
And your
fix
relationship,
everything.
yeah, you just, or you start seeing it as, oh, man, I hate my car. You know, it's time to get rid of it, thing's so dang old, or, you know, I'm done with this relationship. You know, you start looking at your life and you will get that lens. So I ignore all the thinking I have. I just totally ignore it. And because if I take it to heart that it's true, that'll keep me in it longer. So I just appreciate, do no harm, just appreciate I'm in it, and why would you engage in anything going through your mind in a low state?
Do nothing.
Do nothing.
Resistance is futile.
Thank you. So
Don't resist.
but you know, we feel compelled sometimes, we've gotta embrace it, but we were not designed to suffer. We were not designed to suffer, we really weren't.
Mm.
We were not designed, we were designed to live life to the fullest. The suffering is just we're innocently in our personal thinking, and we don't understand that. And that's, and that's every person on the planet. And so, that's just good news for me.
Quick
Yeah,
question. You gave great examples about the kids,
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the guys in jail, how
Yeah.
they related to
Yeah.
different principles. And, you know, everybody has a different way of,
Oh, sure.
you know,
Sure.
coming up with your own way to
Yes.
take it in. How do you balance when you see even family members fighting and
Yeah, yeah.
on a you know, different state of mind, on a low mood? How do you balance letting them get through it, or trying to help or listen? How do you
Well,
balance that?
see,
you know,
now, this is
helping
where it
them
gets,
somehow?
this is where it gets touchy, because
Yeah.
when we're in families or close relationships, we tend to have more thinking in general. It doesn't even have to be bad, we just have a lot more on it. You know, we want our loved ones to be okay, and we want them to get along, and we want all these wonderful things. You need to see that having a lot on it is gonna get in your way,
Mhm.
attachment.
Yeah.
So the first thing you wanna see is your attachment, that they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. You wanna see that. Because that's why, you know, they say doctors shouldn't operate on family members, or you
Mhm.
shouldn't treat people in the family because we have more thinking. But, you know, and it's not a requirement to love somebody, but we just do that. In families, we just tend to have more. So the biggest piece is to kind of reflect on, well, what would happen if I had nothing on how they're doing? You know, you may need to kind of reflect on that. What would that mean for me? You know, because we have a reason to have a lot of thinking. So you want to kind of see your piece in it,
Mhm.
and when you can come out of that, then you will see something really creative on how to deal with that. But you can't have anything on that they need to get to somewhere. It's kind of a paradox.
I don't know that that's possible to be neutral with
That's
my
it.
daughter, my
That's it.
husband.
So that's,
brother.
and that's the thing, over time now, I did get to that point with my son. I woke up to the fact that I had all this thinking about him, I used to carry him and worry, and he used to, you know, and Roger Mills looked at me and he said, because I had this worst fear thinking something bad would happen to him. And so Roger said, well, that's not necessary to be a good parent. I said, Roger, you don't know what it's like to be a mother. And it's funny, because he raised his daughter by himself pretty much, so he said, no, here's what I'm saying, Cathy. Your carrying your son is not protecting him. And nothing can harm you, meaning my worst fear, nothing can harm me psychologically but for my thinking. No event can harm me. And I'm sitting there like, whoa, that hit me. And one day, Aaron was going back to school. He was going to UC Santa Barbara, and he said, well, Mom, I'm going to drive by myself. And I said, no, you're not. You're not driving. Come on, Mom, I'm old enough, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, here's where the crossroad here. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna try this out. So I said, fine, and we had the insurance card and the credit card, and, I blessed the car and how it turned out. So off he went. I said, just call me when you get there.
Right?
And it's a 6-hour drive. So I go into my day, and I made my mind up, I was not gonna carry him in my mind. He's off, I'm just gonna hope for the best. So I got into my day, came home, made my dinner, was sitting, starting to read a book, and the phone rings and it's Ann, and he said, Mom, I made it. And I went, oh, I forgot you were driving to Santa Barbara. And I freaked out, like, what is, how am I?
Bad mom, bad mom.
Bad mother, bad. But then I realized, see, that's when I saw it, that me carrying him in that worry state was not gonna keep the car from cutting in front of him, was not gonna keep the car from having a flat tire. It was not gonna keep him from not paying attention and going off the road into the ocean. All of that thinking was not gonna prevent anything. I saw it. I stopped carrying him. That was it. I was done. So now I love him, of course, and I see him. But now when I'm with him, guess what? He doesn't have this mom mode coming at him with all this intense thinking. Because see, he has as much wisdom as I do. And now I see that. I see that. So that's the piece that when the closer you are, if you could possibly look at, well, what is it that I'm trying to prevent within myself? What is my worst fear? And see, that's just a made-up idea. And it's not helping them at all. It's not helping them. So yes, you'd like them to get along and not do what they do, and you see their little states of mind going up and down, but you have to start here.
Yeah, but even something as a simple comment, my mom might come from work and still my boss made me mad.
You don't want
Right.
to take her on while
I
she's
mean,
in it.
and then I can listen, right? And
Just
mad,
be with her.
But
You know,
trying to
be with her.
introduce the
No.
idea of the principles,
Not when
something
she
that we don't do.
I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole, especially she's got a lot of thinking about her boss that is not.
I mean, not at that moment, but,
Yeah. But who knows, there might be a time when you can casually say, Mom, I noticed that you tend to have a lot of thinking about your boss. Tell me more, what is it, tell me. See, you don't wanna go in and tell her, try to understand why she sees it that way. Don't have this on your head, well, she doesn't, you wanna get it to her that it's her thinking. No, just be with her, ask her, try to understand. And then there might be a moment where it would make sense for you to mention it, but you wanna hear from her first. That's the best way to stay connected to your family. Get curious, why is this such a big deal?
So that's how you.
Can
Are
I
we doing
share?
on time?
The name.
We're good.
Can I share? It's a real, to your example. Yesterday I had a conversation with my husband, who was very upset with our daughter not doing things
Okay,
right
could
with
we
the
stop,
grandkids.
could we not do
Yeah.
that till we're finished?
Yes.
Because I want people to hear Idina. Hold on, thanks. We'll
So-
go for another 5 minutes though.
Yeah, 5 minutes. So our daughter doesn't do things right with the grandkids, and he's so upset. He's so upset. He get into argument with the daughter, and she literally asked him to leave her house. So he was very upset, and he relates to me on the phone all of this, and I can see. So maybe for the first time, because he's a husband, he's so close. It's a history of a relationship, of arguments and everything. So yesterday, maybe for the first time, I saw his humanity, how he's overwhelmed with the fear for grandkids, and how he makes up so much shit about it. He created already a story that if 7 years old granddaughter doesn't change her leotard right after their class, she will end up in a welfare home, I don't know where. And she made up so convincing story. And I listened to him, and I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything first time. Usually I would start,
Try to convince him you're making a big
or
deal.
just blame him
Yeah.
for whatever. I just listened to him. And finally I said, listen, it's gonna be okay, just stop worrying. It's okay. Having them peace in the house is more important than anything else, so stop worrying. And it was over the phone, but I felt
Different.
his relief. And that's it, you don't
And that's
need-
all he wanted,
Yeah.
he wanted reassurance.
Mm-hmm.
See, and you never know until you ask, or until you get a real sense, you know, it sounds like this is really hard for you. Just acknowledging it, they'll say, man, you know, because a lot of the time they're so in it, they don't know how it's impacting them. They don't feel it. So your mom, she's going on and on about her boss. See, she doesn't realize how much that is just impacting her. So you ask her, well, Mom, you know, what is it about your boss? See, if you're there just to hear them out, that in and of itself, you don't have to teach them anything, just be there for them. That is a gift that you can give to her, and that will help. And after a while, she may get curious, what's going on with you? And you say, well, there's this thing I'm learning, and she says, well, what is it now you're doing? See, you wait for them to come to you, especially if they're in your family. But did you know she didn't do anything?
Just our
Right.
presence,
Yeah,
just
that's it.
our complete
And reassuring.
presence, yeah, and seeing things clearly helps
That's it.
them to step back
That's it.
and see things
Yeah.
more clearly.
They settle down. Yeah.
I just wanted to add another workshop on the board. It's nonviolent communication. I think this is what you're
Yes.
talking about. It's available the first and third Sunday at Unity Church Palo Alto. It's free. They do like a love offering of $5. And I did go through to that. I took their training and did that because I found it helpful, and I just needed to be reminded of the value of it. And that's what they do is they practice just active listening, but without judgment or comment, and it's basically free. So I'll put it on the board, the email address, but you just show up, and it's on the Unity Church calendar if you want to just look it up. So I sent a few people there.
But, and just to kind of tweak, we're not telling you that you should listen. We're telling you to get a set of eyes, of states of mind. So
Right.
you right away saw his state of mind,
Mhm.
and you naturally just went into, you just were there with him in the presence of the state of mind. So it's not what you're doing, it's what you're seeing, and you're just appreciating, because there are times you're gonna be in just as much about something in your life as much as she is. So, you know, we're all in it together. You know, she's in hers, you're in yours, and just having a set of eyes on everybody's operating from thought, that's the key. And, you know, is it, you know, ramped up? And if it is, oh wow, they're really having a hard time, okay, let me just be with them. As opposed to, well, let me try to get in there and help them calm down. See, that, we're not doing anything, we're just having an appreciation and seeing what's in front of us. So we'll leave it there.
Awesome.